Hello everyone, this is the Tone Deaf Monk. Today I am going to talk about a set I picked up well over a month ago. These are the Softears Twilight. Single 10mm dynamic driver, almost $1,000. You might think I'm crazy for spending that much money on a single dynamic driver, but how I got here was previously, probably a few months earlier than that, I also picked up a single dynamic driver from a trade, and these are the Thor Molyneux Mark II. And I didn't do a review on these ones because I didn't think you could buy them, but I recently found out that Linsol had actually one set left of these super limited run IMs that no one's heard of before. Phenomenal. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the Softears Twilight. 930 US dollars. Single 10mm dynamic driver. They basically, not a whole lot of information, honestly, about this set, other than, and this is the interesting part about this set, before I get into sound impressions. So the shell itself is, it says twist your ears. So there's this very funky shell, quite small, quite light. There is a vent on the end, but can you see that? There is like a massive vent as well, like 5 big holes for the front of the driver. And if you were to look at, if you're a graphing person and you look at a graph and you look and you say these are going to be bright, they'll have no bass. Talk about sound in a bit. This 10mm driver there and this shell, so basically what they did is they spent over 2,000 hours developing this particular IM, and that's probably also what's up in the cost, right? So large diameter DLC cone with a free edge polyurethane suspension. That makes it quite a unique. They went through over 100 different reiterations of this shell for its volume, and that's what makes this one extremely unique. So basically what they did is they engineered the volume of the cavity for the shell to match up. It's thinking like, I used to work for a speaker manufacturer, and you had to take the small parameters and basically match up the volume of your enclosure, whether it be sealed, isobaric, ported, all of those into account, and control the driver and control the resonance of the driver. And I've never heard of that before in a IEM manufactured. Well, I did some backstory of this Thor as well, and this guy does exactly that too. But these guys took it to the next level. So 100 different shells to get the volume matched up. And then they didn't stop there. So what they also did is they dampened inside of the actual shell itself. Visoelectric dampening materials and diffuser patches are embedded within the shell, again to control resonances and to tune the actual driver itself. Let's talk about how it sounds. I'm not going to do track impressions. No way. It was really, really too hard, but I'll give you the overall. So what makes this probably the most unique is it's the way it can do stage and the way it presents music. Every note, every instrument, every vocal plays in a 3D stage, and it's like doing an open back but an open front IM or headphone. It's unique. Um, everything plays in its own 3D space, and by that I mean there would be a guitar onto the left and it's playing there, and you hear all of the notes, the deep, the low, the plucks, the string resonances, but on the right you hear somebody's drums, and above that person you're hearing tambourines, and over there you're hearing this, and vocals are coming from over there, and then vocals are coming from over there, and they're all individually spaced out in a way that you can pick up on every single detail. So that is how these things present to you. So that's why it's also impossible to review these things, because you get so wrapped up in just the music that you're forgetting to critique what you're listening to, and you forget to go into a song and go, yeah, that vocal sound great, this sounds, bass sounds wonderful. And I did some of that. I wrote down some of that too, but that's not how you can review this set or share your impressions of it. It's really, really difficult. The Twilight is an incredibly resolving set. By that I mean I was listening to some Job Beaving and on the piano, and Adrift in Ether is one of the songs. Again, the way it plays notes, the way it plays instrumentals are absolutely top of the line, performance-wise. The Twilight is unforgiving, absolutely brutal on poor recordings. That's how, I guess, resolving that this single dynamic driver and this tuning and this shell go together. But on the other side of things, if you had a very well recorded track, you are recorded with a magical replay. It's an experience. Another one like that, just like Marianne by Ray Charles and Poncho Sanchez. The way it just came across was magical. I'm sorry to be less or descriptive, but that's it. Just, what did I write? I wrote a while ago when I first started when I got these things in originally. It was kind of funny. So I was listening to some Michael Bublé, another Canuck. And the Twilight made me feel, and don't come down on me for sounding corny, but I wrote, I felt like I was flying. That's how it made me feel. Dancing Queen by Sixpence None the Richer. There's a sparkle in the top end. It's like having 4 EST drivers in an IM, if you've ever listened to a one with ESTs, because there's that extra little magic up top that builds into the overall experience. That was, again, just, some... Oh, man, it's crazy, this one. And I'm sorry if I'm doing a shitty job on trying to explain this one. How did I actually... Well, let's keep going. Sorry. I wrote very source sensitive, and that is extremely true. So recently, I picked up a Shanling M6U, and I also picked up this X Duo XD05 Pro, while my Gishelli Labs DACs, they're almost back, baby, went out to get upgraded. And I'll bring you that some other day soon. So, listening through this as a transport into the X Duo, and using the DAC, the ESS 9039S Pro, inside of the X Duo, what it didn't do it for me. The ESS inside here is very, very good. It's very resolving and very wide and open. It's a great sounding DAC and amp. But as for pairing to the Twilight, it didn't do it at all for me. And I knew that. So in the middle, here is a Truth Ear Shiro. So this is a CSS DAC. So slightly warm, less analytical and resolving. So I went from the ESS to this, and it was like it took all the edge and the roughness out of the IM, and it was a phenomenal replay. It just didn't have enough juice to make them sing. So back to the Shandling, straight off this, wonderful. I think the Twilight, for me, needs a warmer source, and this plays very smooth and just a little bit of warmth on it. So now I took this and went line out into the X Duo 05 Pro with lots of juice, and wow, phenomenal. So in that kind of configuration, I will tell you that for me, I think warm sources were it. It was the same thing for the whole experience. So yes, it is source sensitive, absolutely. Weak Kings by the Tragically Hip. So when I listened to it on the ESS, it was like, no, Gord Dowie doesn't sound like that. I know, I've been enough at his concerts. R.I.P. buddy. Then I threw it back on using the AKM DAC, the 4493, inside of the Shandling, and it was there. That's what that song and his vocals and the instrumentals and the stage all were beautifully done. And then, so sources were down. Got figured that out. By then, I already had tips figured out, and I ended up with a really wide bore tip and a short throw. So these are BGVPW01 tips. Very because the stem on the Twilight is fairly long, it gets pretty deep into your ear. If you used a longer ear tip, it sits out too far, and you don't get the full effect of this IM. It needs to get in deep. And that's what these tips allowed me to do. And again, wide bore, because I want to hear all of that stage. That is magical on this. Then came down to cables. I'll throw a pickup of, I went through 20, 30 different cables. I know some people don't believe, but it makes the last little bit of difference for me. It's the ultimate last tweak. And my configuration ended up with a XINHS 5-element cable. So copper, silver, gold, palladium, and graphene is all in this cable. It actually looks like a black soul. So I have one of those too, and that's why I got them to put on different hardware. So this cable paired extremely well with this set. So when I send it out to our group, I'll send it with that cable, and they can try my pairing, and they can try their own as well. So Let's move on to. I will say another thing about the Twilight. It is incredibly organic and natural sounding. It really does. String instruments will blow your mind. Cello concerto, Azier Polo, right? It was chilling. That's how realistic it got there. And also, sorry, I'll pull up a graph. You look at this graph, if you learned how to read graphs, and you would say this thing has no bass. It's no way it could have, it can play those string instruments well. It'll be too bright. It'll be too airy. You would be wrong. It does everything on that different level because of its tuning. The bass, it hits hard and deep. It has mid bass, it has snap, it has texture, and that's the thing about the Twilight's bass is it has texture to the bass and shows the ability to layer the notes with excellent attack and decay. Like mids, when it's dialed in, it plays bang on neutral. So both in tonality and presence. So what I mean by that, it's not the vocals don't come through forward in the mix, nor are they recessed. They're not dry, they're not too airy, nor are they too thick and warm. They are, in my opinion, perfect. Reference. What about the highs? Again, this is a single 10 millimeter dynamic. Well, they extend really nicely and brings out the detail retrieval in instrumental, in female vocals, everything. There's nothing lacking in this. Does it play a little bit when you're all squared up with all of this stuff? Overall, incredibly smooth, non-fatiguing in any way, but still very detailed. And because of the way it presents music to you in that 3D space, you are constantly smiling because you'll hear things in different places than you have heard before. And I can't stress this enough, that how unique this set is. I've never heard anything that can do the 64 audio U12T is an incredibly special IM as well. What they've done with their technology, with the open BAs, with the TIA drivers, with the Apex modules, and the venting, again, all of that is, here we are, right? But taken up another level, absolutely. So you can hear the amount of time that these guys put into this tuning, absolutely. Is it going to be for everyone? I don't know. Honestly, I can't see anybody not enjoying this set, to tell you the truth. And that will be to the test. I mean, the reason I purchased it is Paul Wasabi, his Discord server on there. Mark Ryan's on there. Everyone's on there, and they have a whole dedicated Mike Bruce. Watch his video on this too. Extremely hilarious. He's, where I'm coming over as dry, unpassionate about this set. Yeah, Mike loves this set too. And they have a whole page dedicated to the Softears Twilight. And I do believe that this is kind of what inspired Mike to do certain things like the Glam Ding and a couple other of his, phenomenal tuning projects where this inspired it, what this can do and how it got there, and saying screw to graphs and let's just, figure it out and tune by our ears. So that's it for me, honestly, on this set. I wanted to share with you how special it is. When it goes around to Canucks Audioholics with Bennett and Kevin, read their reviews and watch their videos. See what they say, if they're wowed like me on this set. Pretty sure they will, because I know those guys' tastes. Kevin really likes his stage. The Fat Frequency Grand Maestro, another really awesome I am for stage as well. The DTE 900, the sound rhyme that I did, also absolutely stand out. But none of them come close to doing a presentation like this. If you get a chance, listen to this set, please. The problem with a short-term listen is you'll pick up on certain stuff, but you need to just be able to listen to music and absolutely chill out. I said in one of my earliest posts when I first got this, I did two. I said, okay, I'm into this thing for, I don't know, 60 hours plus in my ears, and I haven't listened to it yet. And then a few weeks later, I picked him up again, and I did a weekend with him. And I said the same thing. I'm 150 hours in. I still haven't heard the set. Right? And that's exactly what happens with this set. You do not hear the Softears Twilight. All you hear is music. Not the gear, not the chain, not the ear tips, not the cable, none of it. All you're listening to is pure music and its raw form and enjoyment that it brings to you. It's as close as I've heard to being at the live venue, right? I've spent some time in Little Mountain Studios in Vancouver as well. And I know what a studio recording sounds like, both on one side of the glass and the other. And it gets bone-chilling realistic, absolutely, but presented in a unique way that I've never heard another IAM do. So, Softears, thank you. This is a Tone Deaf Monk. I'm out for this one.